Yeah, I still have a flash drive. That's what you wanted to respond to. Oh, that's something different. Why? But it's all about this. It's like
Or they'll tell you yours.
Well, yeah. So you got like. Can you hear? So calibrating. Hey, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm here, right? I'm here. I know. You're really
Was that because the weather date or weather preventing you from traveling? Or you actually
Yeah.
Track and speed of the system maybe being off slightly, hence why we, some of us got a little excited to forecast high snowfall amounts for New York City and down towards Philadelphia on the western fringes of the heavy part of the storm, and obviously that didn't quite pan out. So of course we just improved our GFS American model recently, and maybe that turned out to be the slightly more reliable model for the storm system, at least towards the end. So maybe was this indicative of an improvement in its scale, or maybe it's sort of a lucky break in just one case? I guess we'll have to see how. And of course, the usual questions on how much do we want to rely on these models versus our own experiences. And certainly your crusty old forecaster might think, well, this looks like a tough setup. You get huge, 2 to 3 foot amounts for New York City and points west, whereas it did look like more of a sure thing for New England, that did turn to happen. So perhaps New York City, more of the uncertainty being on one edge of the storm should have been reinforced with the forecast, as opposed to some of the more dire warnings that went out and made it seem more certain to be an apocalyptic situation, which obviously wasn't the case. But of course, the media hype feeds into this and can lead to even, say, the National Weather Service, maybe it's in the back of their mind to take a strong stand on the forecast and use strong wording and warning, given what's out there these days on social media. And finally, lost in all the shuffle was that for basically all of New England, this wasn't a bust at all. It was expected that there'd be widespread 1 to 3 feet accumulations. That's what happened. Localized really high amounts, 30 inches plus. And of course, Boston did really well. One of their biggest snowstorms ever. Sort of, I guess, a mixed bag from this situation. Not all bad, as some people might lead you to believe. And of course, some of us were still impressed with just any snow. So what's been going on here lately? I've been living on the edge, so to speak, just getting clippers or just being on the edges of some of these more major systems, as is the case here in central Pennsylvania. So some of the headlines here, we finally caught up and actually exceeded our normal seasonal snowfall after a fairly slow start here outside of that maybe late November system. And of course, it's actually gotten pretty cold here in January. Maybe that's been overlooked with the parade of storms here recently. So we can kind of compare to last year, the polar vortex year. How are we doing? So there's a lot going on here, but this is a graph of what we've had at the airport so far this month here at State College. The red line being the maxes, blue line being the minimums, and the sort of straight red and blue line, sort of the normal for the last 30 years where you should be. You can see we had that one little bump of a nice warm day or two early in the month when, of course, many of us might not have been in town. Then once everyone got back in town, we went down in temperature and been rather cool, especially those maxes. We've been below normal most of the month now. We haven't been above normal too much. We had some cool nights as well, especially right off the bat here in the semester and early to mid-January. And of course now we're going to get back towards some cool nights again. In terms of snowfall, again, it was pretty quiet through most of December and the first part of January, just a few spits of snow. These green bars here, but now you can see, of course, the last week or two we've had these series of, I guess, light to moderate snowfalls here, clippers, and then, of course, being on the edge of these coastal systems early last weekend and, of course, earlier this week. So not blockbusters by any stretch, but certainly considerable snowfalls, especially this last system when it kind of combined the 2 days worth of intermittent light to, at times, moderate snow. So putting some numbers onto that, from what I have from the airport data, it looks like we've had 23 for average temperature here this month so far. It's actually a pretty good deficit, about 4 degrees below where we should be based on the 30-year normal, so about 27 for January. And given that we'll be pretty cold for the last couple of days of the month, we'll definitely be pretty well below average. But of course, compared to last January, the average was just under 20 degrees, so we're substantially warmer compared to last year, but still well below normal. And it's actually the first time in a decade we've been below normal for back-to-back January. So certainly a notable stretch here now of 2 winters in a row now that have been fairly cold. And it was kind of a question, well, can we get the back-to-back after the really cold winter last year? And so far, given where we've been now in January, where we look to be ahead the next few weeks, we could end up with back-to-back winters where you'd say it was cold, definitely below normal. And then finally, another interesting note, the last time back-to-back Januaries were colder than this, just averaging out those 2 numbers, was 30 years ago in the mid-80s. So certainly it's been a while since we've had 2 really cold Januaries in a row here at State College. So certainly rare, given where we've been the last few decades. And in terms of snow, we've had 19.8 inches now, which is solidly above the normal, and again, the snowiest also since that January 2004. And for the season, we've jumped ahead of normal to about 27.5 inches, which is also about almost 6 inches above where we should be. Maybe we'll tack on a bit more here in the next 24 hours. And again, also the most snow we've had through this point in the winter since 2003, 2004 again, which is also the last time we've had sort of a good snow winter where we've been really well above normal. We had about 71.5 inches of snow that year, and we haven't had more than 50 in State College since. So maybe on our way to a nice winter, cold and lots of snow for the first time in quite some time. In terms of where we're headed, the headlines, of course, we have yet another clipper type system trying to come through here. Northern stream system, so not the most amount of moisture to work with, but it's certainly got a bit of a punch to it again. Snowfall and maybe even some mixed precip is, of course, being enhanced just west of here along the ridges to the west of us. So there's winter weather flags there, advisories and warnings west of here in Pennsylvania. Here in central Pennsylvania, where the terrain could take a bit of a toll on the precipitation, we're just in a hazardous weather outlook situation. So just 1, 2, maybe 3 inches of snow at the most in some spots. Perhaps the more significant result of this system will, of course, be cold air getting ushered in for Friday, so we'll be having a falling Friday in terms of temperatures, kind of starting up warm and then quickly cooling down as cold air aloft pours in behind the system. And we'll also be very breezy as the high pressure tries to work in, kicking out the low that's been coming through now. So it'll be blustery and very cold feeling Friday as our temperatures fall, and maybe we'll even see a few renegade snow showers after the main wave moves out. Then of course Friday night it gets interesting as to how cold we can get given clouds seemingly decreasing and winds calming down, and with a bit of a fresh snow cover we could probably get pretty chilly tomorrow night. Of course we have not had a below zero night, I believe, here in State College this winter, but certainly we'll have opportunities the next several days to try to break that and get maybe a few degrees under zero. And of course now we have some interest for Super Bowl Sunday, especially later in the day. Can we get a white Super Bowl Sunday as we're watching the game, or we'll just stay cool and will the storm miss us to the south maybe. And then behind that system, here we go again, another reinforcing shot of very chilly air. Another cold air mass comes down on the backside of our weekend's potential storm system for early next week. And again, some questions as to how low we can go with some lows, especially say Monday night, Tuesday morning, especially if we can get that fresh snow cover again from the potential system later Sunday, and we can get strong high pressure to clear us out and calm us down again. Certainly could be angling for a below zero night Monday night to Tuesday morning, which again should be the first of the season. So I guess we can just look at what's going on now in the electronic map wall. First, we can just kind of look at what's going on across the country, and as we know, we've had our typical ridge in the middle of the country, and generally actually today, warm just about across all the country. You can see over the lower 48, except us here in the northeast and down the immediate Atlantic coast. Everyone else is actually above normal, although you may note that, especially here in the upper plains and midsection of the country, these anomalies are actually much lower than where they have been the last few days, where they've been plus 25 to plus 35 above normal. Incredible January warmth in many of those spots. So they're starting to cool down as that cold air mass tries to start to filter in, and that'll be the theme here across the country, and then for us here in the next few days. But again, nowhere that's super cold compared to normal right now, but obviously that's poised to change. Look at just our simple 24-hour temperature change. We can see huge temperature changes here in, again, the upper Midwest, upper plains, and south central Canada, sort of behind that clipper system that's coming through for us now. In front of it, some nice warm air advection here in the Midwest, and even back towards us now. We're certainly warming up compared to where we were this time yesterday. So this system's going to help drag in some warm air, leading to some mixing of precipitation off to our west and south of west of us. Will of course just be a tease. The storm will bring a slight warm up today and tonight. Then this chilling air will filter in behind and set the theme for a much cooler weekend, at least especially the Friday night and Saturday portion, and then maybe it'll warm again Sunday, depending on what exactly happens with our storm system. Taking a look at the radar here in the northeast, maybe not thrilled with how it's painting some of these precip types, but certainly the general idea is there that the storm system is trying to drag in some warmer air at the mid-levels. So places like Pittsburgh, for example, reporting some mix of rain and snow and freezing rain. And we have some bright banding going on here in parts of western Pennsylvania and northeast Ohio, indicating maybe some freezing rain and other sorts of things mixing in here. But for here, since we are so cold down near the surface, should just stay cold enough for mostly just snow, with maybe trying to mix a little sort of something in. But again, as this precip tries to move over the terrain, it should maybe run out of steam a little bit. So that's why we're not expecting a huge accumulating event here through this afternoon and into the evening and overnight hours. Just some periods of light snow and an inch or two of accumulation sort of situation. And again, just west of here, already seeing some more substantial precipitation in the spots that stay cold enough, maybe piling up several inches of snow in the spots that do best there. So again, we can see what's going on here on our visible satellite. A vigorous little storm here, a nice little spin here over the Ohio Valley with this clipper, which certainly has something to it, dragging up that warm air in front of it. Then, of course, pulling down much colder air on its backside, which will work in for our Friday. So if we say play around with our...
Is that the her on here? I think the freezing rain potential comes all the way up to us.
So yeah, if we play around with... Oh, that's yesterday's. With our...
Levels go up zero.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was looking indicative of this is the 850s. We squeeze in that nice nose of above freezing air here over the really right now basically into this afternoon. So certainly trying to dredge up that warm air and give us some freezing rain potential. As obviously the surface will still be cold, but we're nosing in that above freezing air here. At the mid-levels. It's been kind of mixed in terms of some places reporting snow, but definitely Pittsburgh, I just looked, was freezing rain. We're going to continue to bring that in, but be it as it may, are kind of a mixed bag of snow and freezing rain. But then as that cold air starts to work back in, any leftover moisture should be snow showers later tonight into Friday morning. And then you can see we really cool down, of course, as that cold air streams in from the northwest for Friday night, Saturday morning, and even Saturday as that high pressure dominates. Maybe we'll get a good amount of sunshine, but with that cold air mass in place, we're not gonna warm up too much. Certainly well below normal Saturday. Then maybe Sunday we warm up in front of that system. And again, if we look at what the NAM wants to tell us for precip type, it certainly does want to bring in sort of that mixed bag of snow and some ice mixing in here. But again, the theme is to kind of try to weaken maybe that band of precipitation a little bit as we hit the ridges, but then maybe a reinforcing shot, that northwest flow later tonight, early tomorrow morning. And then we tend to dry out Friday, but still blustery, a good amount of clouds around, typical northwest flow sort of day. And then again, if we can really clear out Friday night into Saturday morning, that's when temperatures can really get interesting in terms of how low they go across the region. And then, of course, for our weekend now, we have some fun with our GFS here. See now another storm system tries to get going. This time a southern stream system kind of sprouts up from the southeast, tracks through the Tennessee Valley, tries to hit the coast and then strengthen off the coast again. Certainly some questions as to how far south they'll track of us, how strong they'll be, the northern extent of the precipitation. Certainly with it tracking south of us, it should be cold enough for all snow. So it's just more a matter of how much, QPF, how much precipitation can we get out of it. And the GFS for one has been very optimistic with getting that shield of precipitation in here later Sunday night into Monday morning, trying to point towards maybe a few to several inch sort of snowfall for State College, and especially points down to the south. But other models like the Euro and the Canadian, for example, are much more skeptical of this opportunity and might be trying to just push this just far south enough to really not get much of an impact here. And then by the time it gets going off the coast here, you can see it strengthening. That would be, of course, too far to get really any throwback from it all the way here in central Pennsylvania. And then, of course, another really cold air mass dumps on in behind the storm. Potentially, you can see some strong high pressure coming in right over us for Tuesday morning. So if this were to pan out, high pressure right over us, maybe with some snow cover on the ground, fresh snow cover on the ground, and a really cold air mass in place, those heights really getting low, and definitely cold start Tuesday morning before high pressure slides off, and we try to warm back up again. And hey, maybe another weaker clipper type system later in the week, so that active pattern continues. So maybe with that, any comments or questions or opinions on, first of all, what's going to go on today with the potential for light snow, but also some mix as that warm air moves in at the mid-levels, and then also later Sunday, what we think about this storm. Will it get pressed to our south? Will it expand up towards us? Can we get some decent snow from it? And then how cold can it get after that storm?
Can you go get a rock sounding for State College?
Yeah, is that going to be on here?
I don't think you can get it.
Is that mean like the NCEP site?
And I can tell you how to get it. But just Google rock soundings. Rich, do you have a faster way to get there?
No.
You wouldn't happen to have the page that I use as a basis. It's a personal page of mine. It's
Just see if we can.
If you go to twisterdata.com,
Yes.
he's quick.
okay.
Right up.
That's
They're pretty quick.
however you get it.
Yeah, most of the profiles show that at least 0, not plus 1 or 2.
Yeah, I don't think that one site will work. If you go to twisterdata.com, just Google Twister Data.
We might have killed it now.
Yep, that's all right.
Oh, and we spelled twister data. Too much pressure here.
I can't remember if there's a hyphen in between.
Oh, no.
How that looks like.
Kill that. We're going to go to, you want wrap then?
So if you just click on State College, it will plot a sounding.
Maybe. Right.
That allows you to go forward a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yes.
If that's right. So we can 16. Maybe job is in load. Try to get to say 18Z. So that's gonna be now.
RX front pulls up the warmest circuit air after 21Z actually.
So even by now, basically, it's saying we're already knocking on the door of above freezing here at 850. Nice southwesterly flow. And
That's pretty far north.
oh, this. Oh. Saying. Should be a map that shows where it is.
He's like northeast.
Here, so it's basically over us, give or take. So it's trying by 21Z to, but it's could be underselling that warm air advection maybe.
Some of the models and some of the herd runs show that the web book is not freezing. It is sleet, freezing rain. Tune in, John. We're going to
see sleet here.
Sleet, yeah, sleet.
I don't think there's freezing rain.
Yeah, the freezing rain would probably, they came up the freezing rain by up to 100 county.
Okay.
We're pushing to at least sleet.
Yes, right.
It might be useful if you can pull up the HER on the e-wall. Check that.
Is that on this page too?
Where you were. Yeah, upper left.
There you go.
Yeah. So the herd tries to just keep us in the snow. As you see, it keeps that warm air on the west side of the ridges, and it never quite gets in here in terms of the warm air and the rain, or the mix. So in the model world, we're really on the bubble here, as opposed for snow versus a mixed bag. I think this high res is having trouble getting that warm air. It's having trouble getting that warm air over the ridges and down in the valley, perhaps, until maybe some of the precip actually kicks out later Friday.
Anybody else have any questions or comments or things they'd like to see? Yes. Dr. Graber.
So one of the big lessons from this past blizzard was that we didn't use ensemble effectively. For example, the ensemble spread for Boston was fairly confident for a 2-foot or more store, whereas in New York it was spread from probably less than 10 to 5 all the way up to 15. So you guys lessons and let's take a look at this potential for effectively using ensemble.
Yeah.
There, yeah. Are they on here, on the U-Wall here?
The best way might be to WTC probabilistic snow forecast. Yeah.
What do you want? Close?
Well, like a GFS ensemble.
The SREP is on the
Yeah, we need to do this for
for the
So we're at 9Z here now.
On the bottom there, 4-panel northeast, just over to the right.
Yeah, let's do. You can do that. You can just go cut to the chase and go for 12-hour snow probabilities. And,
Yeah.
You gotta
use the GEF. You gotta use it.
yeah. Where's his GFS? This one.
Just type eyewall under space PSU in the Google or in the
Eyewall. Or NWS.
Eyewall.
Dot. Yeah, not met. PSU. Just type in NWS.met.psu.edu. It'll default. Control Z. Click on that. Just click on that. Click on that. You can look at the spread the surface. You can go to the top. Jeff P. Watt, put pressure on. See the cycle. There you go. Up one variable.
It's gonna go
Now we're at
through.
full speed. Let's see this.
Yeah, so this is.
There's a lot. There's actually a fairly deep cycle. It's good. If you can make it go open F11 and function F11, whatever. You actually have a good cycle itself. You got to make full speed. But it's huge spread north of the cycle.
that's kind of been a change in the last 3 or 4 cycles.
Well, I can hear it.
It's changed over the last 3 or 4 cycles. It's been a lot bigger before.
Yeah. But there's a lot of there's a cyclones. There's cyclones. It's like when we did this last Friday with that clipper began to blow up. It showed like a cyclone of Cape Cod, a cyclone over North Carolina. Clearly, this is the cyclone on the coast.
Yeah.
But just look at the spread is really big.
Yeah.
You know, from the Mid-Atlantic region up to anyway.
And just, I mean, just the operational runs have been.
So you can look at the pops. You can pick like a quarter inch left there. You know. I don't know, 12 hours, 24 hours, I guess, like 10th of an inch big.
Oh, what is this?
Keep going down.
Pop
24.
Oh, okay.
That's 2 inches is too big. Go up. Go up, go down. 24 hours. That's not really a pop, it's a PDF.
So it's for a 10th. It's pretty good, pretty high.
You can see when it comes in.
All right, run right on that board, you know, boundary of 50-50 for half-inch QPF just about. So
It might be higher earlier though.
yeah,
Go backwards in time.
yeah. You know, it kind of comes south and then it kicks back towards us, or in the middle again.
Any other last minute comments? It's about 1 o'clock, so I know people have places to go. Alrighty. Good. Well, thank you, Jase. Thanks, everybody, for your contribution. Be safe in the weather today. And next week actually should be another great briefing. Elliot Abrams will be here from AccuWeather. If you haven't been to one of Elliot's briefings, I highly recommend them. They're pretty funny. It's humor. Just like Rich. Thanks, everybody.
You know anywhere where you can get these? See what the way where you got them?
The closest I've seen is
Yeah, it's not any,
What about not the, something about actor now?
Sorry?
yeah, I look at the actual, they don't know that, I mean, they haven't,
I don't know if they don't.
I actually use the
I find out.
Thank you, Jase.
I'm good at it. Sorry.